Good day, good day. Welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Your Kids podcast. And today we have with us Thomica. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Thomica. I am a Boston native. I'm from Dorchester, Massachusetts, and I currently reside in Baltimore, Maryland. I am the happy mom of two amazing kids. I have a 20-year-old high achieving college student named Genesis. She's a psychology major at North Carolina A&T, HBCU.
All right.
And then I have my genius 7-year-old who's following her sister's footsteps, but she's my first homeschool kid.
Nice.
So you know how that goes. She's just creativity through the roof and mommy's little girl and all those things. So
Yes.
I'm 1/3 of Resilient Brown Mommas podcast. I think that may be how our paths crossed on social media, just with
Yes.
algorithms. So we're a relatively new podcast, but we have a beautiful following on Facebook. And what else? I don't know. I'm at home. I work very part-time. We have a cute ice cream business that my 7-year-old runs, and the rest of the family is her employees and
Sweet.
assistants.
Yeah, I
Called
love
Sweet,
it.
right? Called Duchess Delight. So yeah, I'm a busy homeschool mom, just
Enjoying the process.
figuring it out, right? Because every year
Yeah.
is something different. So
Indeed. What got you started with the homeschooling? You said it's your first one. So the first one went through public school whole
yes,
time.
and I hated it.
Mm.
I wanted to homeschool her. I always tell her, I think you just didn't trust me. She's always she's always been super smart, right? And she's probably like, girl, you are a business major. What are you trying to teach me? Right. And I was a single mom the first almost half of her life. And we were very busy, but I was like, I really would like to teach her myself. I didn't trust anybody with her. Although she's very smart and she socializes well, her social battery is about this long,
I'm
especially for
sure.
other children, right? So she's mature, and it's like, I really want to talk about Marcus Garvey right now. And you don't, so I was like, let me homeschool you. But she and my husband were like, no, we're not doing that. She's going to go to school. But she did well. We still taught her and supplemented her education at home. As a
Mhm.
teacher, I'm sure you know that is necessary. You
Very
don't have
important.
time for
Very
20, 30
important.
kids, especially a high achieving child, right? So
Man.
she was in that left behind group when it came to that straight A's, and they're like, oh, well, good. So, but we're like, no, she can take in more and she wants
Yeah,
more.
but they don't get more. Yes.
Right, right. So even though she refused, I said, if I have any more children, I'm homeschooling, I don't care. My husband was still against it. But I think once you have your own child now from the beginning, you start to see
Mhm.
like the little issues in daycare and stuff like that. So we did a couple of months in daycare twice, and he was like, nah.
I was gonna say, how did you sway him? Because I know that's a thing with parents too. Like, one parent's for like
Yes,
gung ho, I got a plan, everything, and then it's like trying to chorus this other one who is very important in the
right.
deciding factor of it. And it's like, okay, how did you get him on the other side?
All we had to do was see that one teacher who was just a
Mm.
little, too
Too
impatient,
rough.
a little,
Okay.
a little too groggy when she came in, and also the cost too, right? It was like,
Mhm.
okay, you're going to work to make this, but then we're
To
paying
give away this,
1,400
yes.
for her to play, but we're still teaching her at home because we're very big on education. You know what? Let's just do this. So she's in the second grade now. Obviously, the pandemic happened when she was in the preschool age. So, like everyone else, it was
It was
easy to
like a,
kind of
yeah,
slide in there.
starter.
And a lot of
Mhm.
parents, I think of course, I hate the pandemic as much as the next person, but I think that it did for those parents who thought that they couldn't do it, right? Now, all of a sudden, you see all of these tools and you're like, I kind of like this.
Yes,
And my
ma'am.
babies like this and they're flourishing. And we're seeing the statistics now. And one of the big buzz topics is these seventh graders being on the fourth grade level. Specifically, we keep hearing from these middle school teachers who are like, these kids are still in elementary.
Yes,
For
ma'am.
those parents who have the resources or understand, because we all do at a certain capacity, but when they're ready to just take the plunge, the fact that we were kind of tossed into it like that,
Mhm.
it worked out for us. and we've just been soaring ever since. So
how did you feel though, starting out, especially, because the doubt is there. Like I know I just had a conversation with a parent Monday, I think it was. And it's just like, I just don't want to screw up my kid. Like that was her words. I just don't want to screw up my kids. And it's just like, well, I mean, would you rather have some little bumps and bruises along the way, or would you like a system to dictate and have a bunch of bumps and bruises along the
right.
way?
Right. And then also the outside influences, right? We each have our own values. I am raising two very loving, very emotionally intelligent kids, and I just see that life being sucked out of so many
Mm.
children. And this is nothing, of course, against anyone who feels like they have to send their kids to school, right?
Yes.
I don't want to add any fear there. I just want to say that that's something that was, put to rest for me. But I do sometimes question, like, because we're in this weird situation. Maybe you've experienced this where she doesn't know a lot of second grade stuff. She knows a lot of third, fourth, and fifth grade stuff. So I'm finding myself, going back to grammar rules and, what I didn't even know that there was such thing as an abstract noun. Like, where did this come from? Right. So I'm relearning all of this stuff, which
Yes.
is why I tell these homeschool parents who are doubting their ability, when you sit there with your first, second, third, fourth grader, don't even get higher in grades, you realize how much stuff you didn't even
You didn't learn or retain. Yes.
like you said, you weren't taught. So why
Mm.
are you putting so much pressure on yourself when they can't know everything that's on that list that the county says there? You're going to show it to them today. You're going to drill it in their head all week. And then you're going to ask them about it in May. They have no clue what you're talking about, right? Because a lot of the things we know is life experience, is practice. All of that stuff was just, I hate to say formality, and it's an institution. So we have to be in there. So I think the only thing that I really struggle with, and it's not really relationships, right? Because she swims. We just ended Girl Scouts. We're looking for a new troop. She has her besties who are also homeschooled,
Oh,
right? So
sweet.
she has play dates and all these things. So socializing in that way is great, but she doesn't know what it's like to have the bell ring and go
That's
in.
okay. That's
Right.
okay. That's okay.
The smell, that the cafeteria smell, when we say cafeteria, you can almost smell it, but she's not going to have like those kind of nostalgic moments with school. She doesn't have picture day, right? So I got to get better about doing that. But I think that's like the only places where I'm like, oh, is this
Yeah.
terrible for her? But again, it's something that we're just trained here in the US, that this is how school
The
looks.
normality. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in all actuality, it's still new. And it took another interview for her to keep pointing out, like, the school system's like 100 years old. Like it's not even that old. So it's not something that's just been around for centuries to come. It's like,
Right.
no, we came from teaching our own kids. Like that's what it was before this system, this lovely experiment was put into place. And now, not no experiment, but now, it's fostered in everyone's mind as a normality or the standard, perhaps. And that's what we're trying to switch that narrative back around to, like, no, you were doing it first. Like we were doing it before this lovely system was set in place for us to believe that once they reach a certain age, they have to go here. Like, they don't. And so I
Right.
love where we're going with all of this. I love all of the options, the school choices, like everything that's coming out of the, like you said, the shutdown. Like while it had its horrible points, of
Right.
course, however, it brought so much to light. It brought out so many creators. It's brought out so many innovators who have created systems or new ways of just doing things. And I love it.
That perspective. Okay, so we're gonna throw that out. When I'm sitting there looking at her like, am I? No, no, because my baby lights up on a Tuesday afternoon when we walk into that library or that
Yes,
museum,
I
and there's
know.
nobody there but us and other homeschool children who
Yes,
are like her. And they can have these in-depth conversations, and they're not restricted. So you know what? You're right.
yes,
And I
yes.
appreciate that.
Of course, of
Yes.
course. So what does your day look like? Well, you just mentioned the library and the museums, two of our favorite spots also. Library, definitely. I love libraries. And with us traveling so much, I love going to all the different libraries, seeing what they do and what they don't, what they offer. Libraries are dope. People really
They are.
underestimate how many resources are available at a library.
Yeah, and the feeling that you get when you walk in, it just has like this. The only thing that's missing is the birds and chirping. Which they might have to do that, right? Make it like
Right.
Narnia when you walk in, because it's
I've
just
gone in one. I've gone in one in downtown Jacksonville that when you walk in, it's like a little forest, like paper like background or whatever. But either way,
yeah.
when you walk through, it's birds and stuff chirping and all that stuff. So yes.
You gonna
Look,
make
make
me
a suggestion to your library. Make a
Yes, I'm
suggestion.
gonna add that. Yes, you know what? I am the type of person I can be organized when need be.
Mhm.
I forgot to add I have a military background. I went to the
Oh,
Coast
okay.
Guard right out of high school, and that kind of set the foundation for the rest of my life. That was many, many years ago. Over 20, over 20
Amen.
some years
Yeah.
ago. But
And you
so
look wonderful, so no
thank you.
worries.
Thank you. But I'm not very structured in that. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, because my husband is military, so he's like, we need to be up at 8. And I'm like, we're not in school.
Yeah, why?
No,
Why,
you be
sir?
up at 8. But me and my baby who likes to nap, our spirit animal is a kitty cat. We just
Yeah.
gonna lay here and look at fun videos on YouTube and whatever. But we do try to get started around 10 or 11. We homeschool Monday through Thursday. We really only do a couple of hours of instruction. We started out with time for learning, just because I was like, I need something
Yeah.
graded so I can make sure. But we also supplemented with workbooks and YouTube and going outside and just conversation, documentaries. But we do maybe 2 to 3 hours of school. I let her lead. So it really is
Nice.
when she's like, okay, I need a brain break. Time for Roblox. I'm not that mom who limits games and
Yes.
and stuff like that. She does all the little TikTok dances and stuff.
Aw.
She's really big into K-pop, so I give her time to do that, and I share it with her too because I want to know, what it is that you're into. And as a
Yeah.
music lover, it doesn't kill me to do so. But we don't really have our
A day to day.
yeah, and like we go to the museum on this day. Some days we'll go to the museum. Some weeks we'll go 3 times to
Hmm.
different ones or the aquarium and barely do any instruction, but we always make sure that if we're doing the time for learning, when the end of the year comes, that we've completed all the lessons and checked all the Maryland
Yeah.
boxes for our
Because y'all have to do a
review.
portfolio, right?
We do a
Yeah.
portfolio review, and I have some friends who are like, well, join umbrella, and that way they'll just sign off that you did it, but I need the checks and balances. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to do it
Do
that
the
way. I know I'm taking
portfolio.
my photos, and she and I are convening at the end of the month. This is what we learned. What do you want more of? She loves workbooks
I
and she
love
loves
that.
assessments, and I know a lot of people
Really?
homeschool to not do assessments, but she likes to test her knowledge. It's a confidence boost for her. So we're gonna re-add, I think, Kumon, because
Mm-hmm.
I will scream it from the rooftop. I don't know how you feel about it, but my first daughter, before she entered first grade, we did Kumon. She was reading within 6 months. And same for my
I've
second.
heard great things about it. I
She
really
was
have.
reading books by the time she was 5. So
Mm-hmm.
we got her started around 4, and she's been light years ahead when it came to reading. For somehow they reframe their thinking. So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the phonics things that are taught in second and third grade, we're already in fourth grade for that stuff because she just hears it once and like,
Already,
okay.
yeah.
Right. So it's really hard to challenge her in that way at this age without going too far. So we might reincorporate it for math because I'd love for her to be advanced in math. I hated math. Still do.
Mm.
If it's not money,
It's not my thing.
if it's not money,
Yeah, right. If it's not money, it's not my
why
thing.
do I need to know this again? Because if I
Right.
need something measured, I'll call a
Yeah,
contract.
calculator. Don't ask me anything complicated. Don't ask me anything like
The square root. Have
don't
a friend. He's
don't do
a kid
that.
genius, right? He plays the piano on this in class, like classical music. He's 7 years old. He's
Oh
like,
man.
Miss Thomica, what's the square root? I said, hold on.
Hold on,
I'm
so.
in second grade.
Right?
And he is
Right.
cool, right? But he's like
Yes.
fifth grade, second grader. So, and that's one of the fun things about homeschooling is just seeing the kids at the different levels. Her best friend Amira is a genius dancer. I mean, excuse me, Debbie Allen, this is your mini me.
Yes.
Pick her out of the crowd at her recitals.
In
And
it.
so now she encourages my baby to dance real hard. And, and then they can talk about these advanced subjects because mamas in there day in and day out teaching her, and they more unschool. So she gets to see, you know, how her brain works. And it's such a beautiful community. And that's why when I saw, number one, the name of your social media and your business, I was like, this is where I belong. Homeschool your kids.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is
Big
my
emphasis on the yo.
but
Yes.
it just breaks down, right? Because when we first hear about homeschool, and when you say it to family, and I see people talk about this, like, you know, all the time, as the judgment, and they think it's like, you know, and nothing against the Mormons, but you know, you got
Yeah.
100 kids in the house, and there's one way to do it, and it's because you don't want them interacting with the world. But there's so many different layers and
So
types
many. So
and
many.
databases and how do you say, they got the different, you know, we got secular and non-secular and out fun schooling and wild schooling and all the
Yes.
things. And I'm
Game
like,
schooling, unschooling.
yes, I
Yeah.
want to pull everybody into it. I'm like, move your kids out that big house, get yourself a mobile home for 80,000 and come in. Because that's what
Right.
I would do if I had, you know, these crazy
Yes,
bills. I would
ma'am.
definitely downsize if that meant that I could keep feeding her this world, right?
Yes,
Outside
ma'am.
of these walls that we call school. So,
Yes, ma'am. I
yeah,
know. And I know a lot of people look at it as a privilege. And I it's like I understand it, but I don't, because it's like it's something you can do. You can make it work for you regardless of your situation. You know, I'm coming from a single mom's perspective, and like, yeah, there was definitely things that we had to, like, you know, minimalize on and things like, but I've always been real, like,
me
I'm
too.
whatever. So yeah, so it's just, I felt like it was worth it. I felt like everything that we do is worth it. I would have never imagined, like, we spent a week in Iowa this summer. Would have
Come on
never
now.
imagined going to any Iowa. Like, that wasn't on my game plan, but my children had an amazing time there and they got to learn so much. We went to the John Deere Museum, girl. And so now every time we pass like John Deere something, we like,
That
John Deere,
green, that
John Deere.
green and yellow.
Yes. And so it's like, you know, just it's so limitless.
Yeah,
It's
and
and
people,
that's
yeah, it's like I just want to drag everyone into it. Everything is a lesson, and I love that my family has so much fun with it, because there are a lot of people in Boston. Cost of rent is through the roof, right?
yeah.
Everything is expensive there, and they're always like, "So how does it go?" And like, "What do you do?" And like, "How do you
Mm-hmm.
incorporate lessons into?" Like, we just went to the Bill Pickett rodeo. I don't know if you and the girls.
Mm-mm.
Oh, look, you have to next season. I think they ended it with Upper Marlboro, Maryland. But next
Mm.
season, and I'll make sure I ping you. You have to take them. They have about 5 different locations, and it's all these Black cowboys and cowgirls and cow babies, right?
Oh.
You got 4-year-olds out here commanding, you know, these cows and
Oh, they
horses.
will love that.
Oh, but it's still our music, right? And you know, we're showing up and showing out. We got tassels
Mm-hmm.
everywhere and the hats with the sparkles and just put it on. And for the kids to see this. So now this week we can focus on Black
The
cowboys
history.
history, right?
Yeah,
So
the
then we could
history of
tie it
it.
together, because when I was a kid and we went to Plymouth Rock, I think I got out of that one, but we go to the aquarium and stuff. You go, you're horsing around, you know, the kids are picking on each other. You can't wait for
Mm-hmm.
lunchtime. You can't go to the little shop after because there's too many of you, and some kids don't have money and all those things. And it's like these kids really get to tie these experiences together, and everything is a lesson, from grocery shopping
Everything.
to folding laundry,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And they get to just do it at their own pace and ask questions as they go along. And one thing my husband struggles with is us talking about money, and then Ducky gets up and goes and gets her money, because he's like, you know, we're supposed to be sitting here, and it's like, no.
Mm.
And then if she gets some groceries out the fridge and puts a monetary amount on those, and we start doing math with that, and now we even went into agriculture, because the apples, I'm like, these weren't organic this month, honey, because
Yes.
right? We can talk
Yes.
about these things, and it's just such a beautiful, freeing experience. I'm like, please, baby, don't ever try to go into school.
Right. I will tell you, my 9-year-old, she talks about doing high school. And I say, like, because I just look at her, girl. And when I tell you this child can't sit still to save her life, I just want to see like what it's gonna be like. Cause I'm not gonna stop her. By all means, you want to go, let's go do this. Let's do it.
Yes, like,
Hey,
baby,
I'm
you are
down for it.
learning in your underwear, sitting underneath the table, wrapped in a blanket. You cannot do that at Park High School
at all. And my youngest is like, girl, school start too early. Like they did a summer camp this past summer, and
How was it?
they enjoyed it. They only did it like 3 weeks, but my oldest is like, she's a social butterfly. She a Capricorn, honey. She loves
And
talking
that's
to
my
people.
7-year-old. Oh yeah.
She want to be out here in these streets just talking to. So she loves the travel aspect that we do. She loves all of that, but she also likes the thought of being a leader. Like, this is her thing. I'm telling you why she want to go to high school. She want to go and have a crew and be the leader of a crew, and they be the popular girls in school.
She be on YouTube, huh?
Girl, I told her to stay off YouTube, stop watching
not
movies, everything. It's not.
High School Musical. That's what I try to tell my baby. If you think you and your friends gonna do a dance routine and you're like, hey, Sharpay, no, girl, no, these people are sad. These kids they mad. Their mama yelled at them from the time they woke up.
Right. Whereas my youngest is like, yo, and she'll be 7 next week, but she's just like on some, girl, school, that stuff is too long. She's like, I don't want to be in a building that long. And I'm just like, yes, baby, stay that way. I got one of you. Look, I got one of you for sure.
When little mama gets to high school, and like you said, you don't want to go ahead. Go on with your little crazy. Here's your little mask. Go into that little building. I'll give you a little elderberry. Go in there. Because when I'm on YouTube and I see the kids in the comments, right? Because I look at I'm one of those people, like, I'm trying not to be a like curriculum junkie, right? But I do try to see like what's out there. That's how we found Me Academy. Like, this kind of works. IXL, might try it because it has the measurements.
I like IXL too.
Yeah, we might. I might try to slide her into that one. But the kids are in the comments like, how do I convince my mom to put me back in homeschool because I've only been in school for a week and I'm sick? Or the class is moving too slow, or they're so mean, and it's just like, I'm like, I'll homeschool you, baby. I'll come out to Milwaukee and
like just being able to see the kids aspect. And that's why I love talking to my kids about it. And I love them talking and sharing on other. When I tell you we go to the park, girl, and they be recruiting, Mom, where your card at? Her mom's gonna homeschool her. It's like just like that, huh? Look, just like that. Like, they ain't talk to the mama or nothing. They just told their friend that they homeschool, and now, oh no, her mom's gonna homeschool her. Where's your card at? I need to give her one.
They told about the world. They brought them into the fold.
They be really big on it. They really are. They're really big advocates for it. They love it. They just the experience of it all, just the freedom they feel the freedom already. And that's what I really like about it.
Well, I don't know we talking about me, but can we talk about you just telling me like it was nothing? I'm a single mom. And we talking about travel, and you running a business, and you're tapping into the community so that we can interact with you and other people. Can we do you have a clap button? Like, can you?
Oh, thank you. I don't, and that's why I don't even look at it as work. Like, I feel like this is just something that I'm doing with everybody. Like, that's why I love doing these. I love I love these podcast interviews, and people have started reaching out to me and asking, can they be like it's I'm gonna say no. Like, yeah, of course. Like, what? Come on.
No, but you are a big deal. So thank you. The fact that your kids, and your kids are reaching out because they're going to reach people in a way that you can't. And the people who do value what their children have to say, and they're hearing it on a level, from a child, like, you're changing people's lives. So I could have said it at the end, but it was on my heart to just stop you just in case you don't remind yourself, because I know how it can get.
I know. And I try not to downplay. Like I said, I'm very grateful for all of this. I get how I got here, and I'm grateful for the process that I've had to go through to get here. Because the shutdown, to me, like, that was my oh, get out. Like, get out, girl. Go now.
Yes.
Because homeschooling has always been on my heart. And I tell people that before I had kids, I wanted to homeschool. But I also got into the school system once I had my first child. And it was just like, oh no, but they need me. I need to be here. I need to be here. They this is wild. It's wild here. And they need to see something different. Like, I was very adamant about being the different that they need to see. And so it really deterred me. But girl, once they shut down, and I was at the house with them, and I'm like, yo, no, this is. And then my second one was about to start. Like, she was in preschool, actually, like a private Christian preschool, and that was cool. It was cute seeing her in her uniform and stuff, but then it's also still the formality of it all, of just the restriction of, oh, you need to do this, you need to wear this, you need to sit like this. It's just so
Yes.
many restrictions placed on these little people that are still learning themselves and wanting to express themselves in a certain way, and we're telling them, nah, don't do that
No.
between these hours. Like, between these hours, I need you to be like this. And so,
From here on down, like,
yeah, for 13 years, like, some getting even 14, because some are starting, as early as 3-4 years old. So it's getting earlier and earlier. It seems like that kids are getting indoctrinated into a system of, this is how you behave, this is what you need to do from 9 to 3. I need you to sit down, and not, if you feel like getting up, you can't.
right.
You
And you got
can't.
kids having accidents because they can't have more than one of you at the bathroom, like those pressures. And I am a person, which this actually is not a challenge in my homeschooling. I guess it could be for some people, but I think it's important to share for moms who feel restricted by personal things that you have going on. When you said that, it made me think about anxieties that I have from school. Right? There's a lot of kids who would be great readers, but because they stumbled on a word or two and people giggled, or the teacher called on you, and you really are an introvert, and your paperwork is great, but you just don't want to talk in front of people, and you got Billy whose arm is about to fall off because he wants to
because they want,
speak, but you're picking on me, right? So I saw all that, and I didn't want to be that person. And you don't drink all day because you don't want to have to use the bathroom.
Girl, that's teacher life too.
Right. That does things to you physically, right? And we have kids who have accidents, and embarrassing things happen to them because the teacher said, you can go on your break, but your break is only this big. The class is here and the other class is over there, all of those things. And it did has a lot to do with the anxious person that I grew to be with school. And I had a therapist actually tell me, I fired her, by the way. Excuse me, I found one who encourages my homeschool.
Yeah.
But she said, you can't take your sad life experiences and whatever fears you have and put them onto your children. And I said,
That's not what I'm doing.
that's not what I'm doing. I'm not protecting her in any way. There's no reason for that. Why should I have to put her in this? She's
And
gonna have
that's the
that.
thing, like, how normalized people try to make it be like you're something's wrong with you from not wanting to put your child into a system that you have seen as very faulty. Like, it is not like fulfill everyone. And so, like, you're telling me I'm wrong for taking or not wanting to place my child in that. And I see her, like, I see how well she's doing, I see how great she's thriving, I see how happy and joyful she is.
What's the point of that, right? And it's just so many of the things that, I said homeschool because of the other personalities. As an adult, I have learned I do not have to work at a job, be in a relationship, have a friendship, or even a familiar relationship with a person who treats me poorly.
Yes,
But in
ma'am.
school, we have a teacher, we would tell our parents, my teacher doesn't like me. Your teacher doesn't know you to not like you. Your
Yes.
teacher's not worried about not liking
You just in there doing something. Yeah.
But as a mom of a high achieving child, she had teachers who did not like her. And I had to step in. And then once they realized she got a mom and a dad, let me stop picking with her.
I tell people all the time, that's the game changer. When you are involved and those teachers see you present, they treat your child totally different. When they know that your child is checking back in with you and telling you, Mom, this happened in class today, or Mom, this, like saying that matters. That matters big time, because your child will get lost in the sauce and they will just handle them however they are able to handle them, because they don't have anyone speaking up for them.
Listen, they need to see you. And
Yes,
the
ma'am.
only thing better than that is taking them out. Because when my daughter, and I always give this example, when my Genesis said, she said that she was in 5th grade in Rockville, and they pride themselves, Montgomery County, on being so diverse. And it's great. And the school was, in this beautiful area right there, and all the doctors and everything, And she said the teacher was very angry with me because she asked what was a natural resource that was needed in order for whatever word they gave the colonizers, right, to build this particular area in America, and I said indigo. And she insisted that I say slaves. And I said, slaves are not resources. They're not resources, and I'm not putting slaves. And she marked it wrong, and she had a problem with the teacher from that point on.
Of course.
So I had to, and this isn't the first time that we've had to, step in with the teacher taking something personal because she had been educated at home.
These are still human beings. Like these teachers, and that's why I was like, the people that put so much trust and faith, and I never talk against teachers. I just speak about the reality of them because I was one, and I know me. Like I know me, and I know the conversations I had with other teachers, and like we have feelings. We have like, there's teachers hold grudges, honey. Teachers pass on information to your next teacher. They'll tell you, already put it in their ear that, oh, you need to watch him, you need to watch her, or she did this in my class. Like teachers do that. Like, don't make it seem like teachers don't do that. And so understanding like, no, you got to be present with your child. You have to be present with your child because they can get handled a certain way, all because of them going against something. And even if it's not right, like in that teacher's mind, it's like, no, this is the answer you need to be given. So I need you to understand this is the answer you need to give. And those students that do get to speak up and are leaders and are like taught at home, no, girl, if this is what it is, and that's what it is, you go and you do that. Then it's a whole game changer. Teachers aren't used to that. They're used to the fall in line to the ones who are see an X and accept that X as it is, as opposed to questioning things. And no.
And it's so crazy to me because when I'm doing social studies and when I'm doing history, I'm seeing in these books here, I'm like, wait a minute now. Because I know I was taught slavery just happened, right? It wasn't bad. Look that's how we got over here. We would still be over there in cloaks riding on, because that's what they teach you, that we're over there running from lions and carrying on. We lucky we was over here. This 500 plus years was just a little bump in the road. You know what I'm saying? Look at you now.
That's why I speak on identity, and our melanated kids are the ones who are the least identified with themselves and their their natural greatness, because they're fed a slave narrative from the beginning. Like how damaging does an individual think it is for you to hear from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade that you were less than, that you were less than. Like that's all you're a minority, you were a slave, all these trigger words that just continually play in your mind. Like, oh no, I can't perform and that's this level because I'm less than. Like, there's something wrong with me or something. It's
you damaging. Be the principal, I'll be the teacher. You be the business owner, I'll be the employee. You be the you be the quarterback, as my husband would say. I'll be the one that takes the hits.
Yes, ma'am.
And they learn this in every single. And I was listening yesterday to Heather B podcast. Love her to death. She was, I don't know if you're familiar with Heather B, Sway in the Morning and all of that. Okay. But talking about in our neighborhoods and like what we introduce our kids to as far as sports, right? My baby's in swimming. We wouldn't be able to swim during the day if she was in school, right? So they're like, you keep putting all these basketball courts up, right? But we got kids who play tennis, and these kids want to play pickleball. Why you got all this space in this wall-to-wall fields of football and stuff, but these kids want to play golf. And it still is in school. In our schools, this is what we have. And then we find out that these kids are coming to our schools, our HBCUs on minority scholarships, playing tennis and golf. Because we don't have the players.
Yes, ma'am.
Strategic games that they can play for the duration of their life that aren't tearing up their bodies, like being hit and playing basketball and being tripped and these things. And it's all from school. And like you said, the indoctrination in this institution, and you're open to these writing lessons and things like that that are afforded to these kids during the day because they are being homeschooled.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're missing out on it because we're trying to keep up with all of not all of us, but for the most part, it's the aesthetic. It's that $500,000 house up in Upper Marlboro. I'm not going to go get that $80,000 trailer. That's ridiculous.
Yes,
But you or me or someone who doesn't mind, you know, I'm not worrying about that. I'm trying to go and take my kids an hour this
Oh
summer.
yeah, no, we trying to get an RV. Look, that's our goal, to have an RV by January.
You're
So
gonna have
we
it. You're
thank
gonna
you.
have it.
Thank
Yes.
you.
And I'm
Thank
trying to
you.
find ways to downsize, even if it's just the condo, you know, or something like that. But I want to be able to have those resources to say, let me know how that trip to Thailand was. That you know what I mean?
Yes,
Who I talked to about
yes,
that so I could take my baby there because she's really into Asian culture. She loves it,
yes,
you know. So I just this having this opportunity, it gives me the time and space to even hear these conversations. I couldn't
yes.
hear these conversations when I was beating the clock to get to my baby after school, to get her back home so we could rest. So the next day I could drop her off at her institution so I can go to my institution.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Definitely a game changer, because I wasn't well versed in it, even though I was hollering from my early 20s. Oh, when I have kids, I'm gonna homeschool my kids. I didn't know anything about homeschooling. I didn't know about the community. I didn't know about the resources. I didn't know about any of it. I just knew that this is something I don't want my kids in this building. Like that's what I knew. I didn't want them there, and for so many reasons over. But I just knew that I didn't want them in the school building. But I didn't know about the homeschool community. And so, like, listening to people talk from outside of the homeschool community is like, nah, you really need to give it a try. You really need to, tap into it and see. Like, just try it. Even I told you how I was talking to the mom on Monday. I'm just like, just check it out. Like, try it out. Cause you can always put your child back in school. Like, that's the thing. Like, you can always return them if you want to.
Look, and they'll take them and they'll let you. I've seen people like, oh, we tried.
Uh-huh.
It was a week later and Tommy
Right.
to come back home. And I'm like, because Tommy got sense. But Tommy knows that mom is there. And you know what? I think people don't realize too, you can be as hands-on or hands-off as you want based on your child's personalities and abilities, right?
Yes,
We have
ma'am.
OutSchool. I know people who log on for
I love OutSchool. Like I love that. That's an amazing resource.
what a way to outsource, right? And you can go and cook dinner for that 45 minutes that
While
they're
they're on,
doing
yeah.
theater or coding. And
Yep.
people just don't know. And that's why I'm just like, thank you for telling them. And I kind of want to tell people too. I feel like I just started right at pre-K. We're in second grade. I'm one of those people who, because I've been taught I got to know everything, right? I'm like,
You
what
don't.
business do I have sharing these things? But there's so much stuff. I didn't know
Yes.
anything about OutSchool. And there's probably a mom who's listening to this right now that was like, what?
OutSchool. I know. Check it out.
Right, my child plays Roblox all day, or what is it? Minecraft. And you're telling me
Mm-hmm.
that you could teach my child how to multiply with Minecraft on OutSchool?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. There's some enthusiastic teacher who loves this, and they're going to teach them that. Like tap into it. And like you said, and the whole point of this was that mom that you met, you don't have to rip your child out of school, but during a break, do a little trial of Mia Academy or do
Mm-hmm.
IXL at home when they get there for about 30 minutes on the weekend or that summer break and see how you guys like it and how you connect. And that baby's not going to want you to drop them off next August or
Right.
September. They're going to want
Right.
to be
Or
home.
if you do drop them off, they're gonna be like, can you come pick me up?
Remember that thing?
Can you come
Remember
pick
that
me
time
up?
we was sitting there eating breakfast late, mama? You and me
Yes.
TikToks, and you know what I mean? Like it's such a way to connect. So
It is.
I'm so
It's
grateful.
beautiful. It's beautiful for families. It really is. It really builds a greater connection. Like you're there with them. You're talking to them on a regular, like building relationship, thriving together, doing what works for you all as a unit, as opposed to letting some outside force dictate how your days are spent, how your week is spent, how your summer is, like all is telling you when you're able to travel, basically telling you when you're able to take a break. Like,
You have
no.
to do it when everyone else is doing it. I
Yeah.
love people, but I don't like people in large amounts.
Yes.
I like intimate connection.
Yes.
So I don't want to go to Disney when y'all going to Disney.
Right.
I want to go when it's cold on the East Coast and nobody's there. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And we get to get on the rides without having to wait 45 minutes in the sweat box with because it's hot.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
Florida, it's hot. So those things, but just knowing that there's some days where Ducky doesn't, well, Ducky's her nickname. She doesn't need me at all.
I
She
love
just
it.
logs on. She may tap me in. Like I keep getting the same question wrong, and then we're learning it together because I'm like, you a homeschool girl. You better Google.
Google,
Right
yes.
now you heard it and now you saw it and we read it. Now we're going to discuss it. Now it's going to stick. But in school, you got to pretend like you got it.
Yes, and there's a lot of pretending. There's a bunch of pretending. That's why you get the conversation like you spoke on earlier. Because I started in middle school, and I had a seventh grader reading on a pre-K level, or she was reading on the kindergarten grade level. They told me to give her pre-K work from her star reading test. So I understand the gaps is there. It's really, and I associate it, and this is just my theory, I associate it with labels. I associate it with, because it's too many kids, and this is 12th grade level too, because that's why I ended up at 12th grade, reading or learning or being on a third grade level. And that's when you start that testing. That's when those labels really get placed, really, because of the whole standardized testing. And so once you start and you don't test well, they automatically give you a learning disability. And then that's where that learned helplessness comes in. It's like, yes, okay, well, I don't learn like everyone else. There's some, or I got this, or I got that, or I'm this, or I'm that. It's like, no, you may not learn that way, but there's nothing wrong with how you learn. They just got to figure out how it is that you learn. But it's hard to do in a classroom full of 30 kids, yes, 30 plus kids at times. Like, that's a very difficult task for one individual. And you know how shocked I was when I found out that they only had one teacher in kindergarten? When my baby started kindergarten and there was only one teacher.
What?
You
got this one over there taking their nose. You got this one over here taking the shoe off.
No, she was like, when this is like stuff like this sticks with me, numbers like this. She had 22 kids on her roster. She said 9 of those kids had never held a pencil before.
Oh my God.
So they're starting school, and you got mine who's been in pre-K 3, pre-K 4, and now she's in kindergarten. So it's like she's been in kindergarten 3 times basically.
That was my first.
Yeah. So she, she's on this level, whereas you have these kids that are all 9 of these kids who this is their first time probably being introduced to letters and everything else. And it's like, where do you start with that? How do you meet everyone in a classroom full of 22? You one teacher, and they're 5. They're 5-year-olds.
Because that's a whole other level right there. What?
Elementary kids, but I can't do a bunch of elementary kids. Like, no. Not me.
No, never. Oh my God, that broke my heart to hear.
Yes, that's the type of stuff that sticks with me, and it's just understanding like how parents are processing their role in their children's educational journey. And that's why Homeschool Your Kids is so big, because I tell people, it ain't talking about pulling your kids out of school. You don't have to pull your kids out of school to homeschool your kids.
I didn't do it. Yeah,
exactly. And I'm glad you touched on that and talking about your child and where she was and her level of genius, and recognizing that and understanding that she got to be supplemented. Even like supplementation should be in anyone, especially melanated folks, vocabulary or their way of thinking, because of the history that's taught in school. I would never want my child to just be taught that type of history without really knowing themselves, and just learning about the 4 civil rights leaders that they mention every year during Black History Month. No, we're so much more than that, so much more. And I'm glad that we have come into a time where people are putting big emphasis on all of the Black inventors, all of the Black creators, and just showing like, oh no, we made that too. No, that's us. Like, like things like, I love that because these kids deserve that.
And they should see themselves like that.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Tell me something about Resilient Mommas.
Resilient Brown Mommas. Oh my gosh. So it's my little sister's baby, actually. I've been the one who's always been into arts and media. I worked at CBS Radio, iHeartRadio, in promo. I did a little voiceover stuff, and I played around with some podcasts as a guest. But my sister always had this burning, she's always been connected to the female community, right? And she was like, anything that has to do with us, whether it's relationships, money, parenting, especially. So her brainchild was Resilient Brown Mommas, and she wanted to do it by herself. And then she was like, well, maybe I'll do it with my daughter, she's now Well, my baby just turned 15. Well, she'll be 15 next week, my niece Jada Star. And she was like, I really just want to get this thing off the ground. But she called me one day and was like, will you do it with me? And I was like, I'm not going to tell you no, you're my baby, of course,
Yes,
and it's
yes.
something I enjoy doing. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And then she has a very close friend that she's been friends with forever. Her name is Sonia. She's become my sister friend. And so we have like, she's a little bit older than us, but our experiences are so different. So Sonia was married and divorced, and she has a son, an adult son, Sheena, my little sister who started the podcast. She has 2 children, a young son and a teenage daughter. Excuse me. My allergies are killing me in this room.
No worries.
Right. And then there's me. I have my 2 girls, a young adult who's just entering adulthood, right?
Yeah.
And then a child that I'm homeschooling, and I'm married. So we just have these 3 different perspectives, 3 very different personalities. Sonia is in New York, where my sister was raised, and my sister and I are both in Maryland, but we've been all over. Me with the military, them just being traveled. They are some traveling women. I'm like,
I love it.
I don't want to get on the plane. I don't drink, but I need to drink in order to fly. So
really, oh yeah.
I'm one of those
I don't mind the plane. I just mind the get to the plane. Like I mind the airport experience as a whole. Like I'm about to fly next week, and I haven't flown it since 2019. And I'm just like, I'm, trying to think positive about it, trying to make sure I stay in a good space. But my last experience flying, reason why I drive everywhere now, I didn't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. The plane ride itself is fine. It's just the whole get to the plane. That's what loses me.
If you tell me, Thomica, it's going to take you 10 days to take a train from Baltimore to LA.
All right, I got time.
I'm going to pack 10 pairs of drawers. And I'm getting on that train with a whole bunch of snacks. Okay. I take my babies because they'll be like, I want to fly. They're adventurous.
Yeah, my girls like flying too.
Flyer. Yeah. So y'all could take him. He'll carry the bags. I just don't want to go. So he actually takes all the international trips by himself. And he calls me all day on video phone so I could see everything he eats.
Oh, you got to get over that. You're going to have to get over that.
I don't want him to. I'm like, I don't care. I'll look it up on YouTube, bud. A National
No, you got to go. You have to go. You have to go.
I just hate the traveling, but they are all into it. So we get to take all of these experiences and just sit down and be fun and funny and be serious. And sometimes we cry and we talk about, the traumas and the things that we're trying not to redo with our kids, some mistakes that we see that we made, and how we're still trying to take accountability. Because I learned a lot of kids, especially with social media and all these TikTok therapists and everything telling you to hate your mama and first to do this, and she could have did that if she really wanted to. It's like, and we all go through that, I think. And so we're looking at our kids like, are they going to put me in a 5-star old folks, or am I going to be on care.com trying to get the lowest bidder, to come and wipe my tail? I don't know. I'm trying to look. I apologize for everything. Look, I know you was wrong, but I'm sorry. Because I clearly raised you to think that was okay. It made me raise my voice, but my trauma made me yell, and I really meant to apologize.
I love that. Yeah.
About all of those things, and our kids are old enough to listen. I've always said I like to treat myself like Yelp. My kids are allowed to give me 1 to 5 stars. They give me some feedback on how I could do better. You know what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
But don't be mad at me when I come to you with your Yelp review.
Yes, ma'am. Right? Oh, yes, because girl, we sit and we're gonna talk about, hey, you got some suggestions? I have some suggestions.
Okay, because yesterday I almost tripped you, but I'm not that parent. But I wanted to.
Yeah.
So we get to discuss those things and be like, I never thought of it like that. And, the loneliness of being a mom, because we've dumped all of everything and ended relationships and all the things, because that person, left the toilet seat up too much. But we deal with that stress. So we just going to quit you because we're going to put everything into these kids. Now the kids are in college and we sitting there like, I miss my man.
Right?
See,
Girl, they even got to get to college. It took a couple
where he
years. I'm
at?
like, wait a minute. I
I gotta
need
take out the
somebody.
trash. It's dark outside. We got raccoons, and I done kicked this man out because he left the toilet seat up, but I didn't have time for that because I'm worried about you. So we catching each other
I
and
love
telling the
that.
stories and giving the lessons, and our kids get to give us the feedback because they listen, and our friends, and we have people who are like, I thought it was just me who felt like a
Yes.
failure here, or who thought I was
Oh,
doing something
yes.
right, or who thought I was doing something wrong. I was told I was a coddler, and now I have these two very independent children who I have to remember not to let them mother me because they're so good at just
Right.
reading me and knowing, what's right and what's wrong and calling me out because we have this open
I love it.
communication, so it just Resilient Brown Mamas from the very first episode has been such a special thing and such a blessing that my sister has given me and our family and our friends and mothers to come. And I have
Yes.
my old male co-workers, like I tune in every
Are
single
tuning in.
I'm
Oh,
tuning in, and now I see why my
sweet.
wife did this and why she was frustrated about that. So we took a break for the summer. We all needed a mental health recheck. A lot of things have been happening in my family with things changing, which I'll be sharing in a few months on my podcast once I, get my mind right.
Yes.
But so we'll be reconvening here at the first week of October. So you'll be getting some new episodes from us, but I'll be touching more on my lupus journey. I am homeschooling with lupus mamas. Okay.
Yes.
So don't tell me
Yes.
you can't do it. Now, granted, I have a very mild lupus. I'm able to keep it calm, mostly through my mental health. Mine, I think, was brought on by my poor mental health over the past decade. And so I'm learning and growing through that and through meditation and just a whole lot of self-love. I'm able to, function, but it does give me a lot of fatigue. So when you ask about what my day looks like, sometimes it starts a little later.
Yes.
Sometimes it's a little more oohs and ahs because I have the rheumatoid arthritis and things that come along with autoimmune disease. But I'll be touching more on that. And Sonia is a cancer survivor, which she's very open about, and she deals with things like vertigo and stuff like that. So we get into heavy stuff as well, but the whole point is to show, some people don't like the word resilient, take it or leave it, right? It just shows that regardless of who you are, what you're going through, whatever your goal is, you can do it.
Yes.
Right? And if your goal, for me, my goal is to exist. I believe that God put me on this earth to clap at his sunset. And to leave every person better than what I met them and take whatever good I can from other people because I'm learning something different. I just learned stuff from you. You know what I mean?
Oh, thank
And
you.
like I said, you're trying to interview me, and I'm like, oh, offline, girl, we got conversations.
Right?
I got some
Yes.
stuff in this RV business. I'm trying to hop on. I can't drive long. I fall asleep at the wheel, but I can bring some snacks and the entertainment. But where
Yes,
do you want me to
ma'am.
meet you at? Because
Right? Yes.
but just building these relationships is what the podcast is all about, and it's such a blessing. So I hope that you and your listeners tune in and support us.
Yes, please check them out. I love that because it's your story is always needed. Like people don't understand how much their story can affect the next. Like, your journey is your journey by all means, but when you share your journey, it becomes an inspiration, it becomes encouragement, it becomes like motivation. Like, yeah, like you said, even though we're going through these things, it's like we're going through them, but we're still able to do this, we're still able to do that, and we're going to, because that's life. Like life is life. Like we're always going to, it's always going to be something. It's just understanding and knowing it's about your approach to whatever it is that you are experiencing that's going to make all of the difference.
Yes, we're
So
unique, but we're not that different. And I may not be exactly like you, but we share a similarity, but we
yes,
don't
ma'am.
know if we don't talk about it, we don't share it. And we're taught to get over stuff, especially as Black women, Black humans. We are taught to get over things. And my thing is to remind people to go through
it.
You have to go
Yes,
through
girl, you
every
better.
single thing.
You better.
Where my prayer cloth at? Prayer cloth. I
You
always got something,
better.
a little tissue or something.
Right? Yes. I love that. But I just love where we're evolving to as people in general, because people are definitely embracing their traumas and going through it and sitting with it, reflecting on it, healing from it, as opposed to just getting over it, just ignoring it, numbing it, distracting yourself from it. So we're in a great time. We really are. We really are. I love it.
Absolutely. And you're doing the right thing, because communication is the key. Don't tell people your business. I'm telling everybody my business.
I know, girl. I tell everybody my business.
Because you wouldn't know that I had lupus if I didn't tell you my business, and you might know a vitamin, or you might know a podcast, or another person I could pick up the phone and talk to if I didn't tell you, because you don't see the physical manifestations right now that I have this. Yeah. And the same with you, or the same with the next person. I don't know you might want to homeschool and you don't know where to start. And I got nothing but time, because I'm a homeschool mama. So I'm about to with all the resources and hold your hand, because I want you in this world. But if you don't tell me your business, I don't know. So it's okay. It's just, be okay with people not receiving it well, or not being able to give you some good input, but they might tell somebody else. Yeah. So just be an open book.
Because it's meant for who it's meant for. And the messages will be delivered to who it's meant for.
They say ideas are like ghosts and feelings are like ghosts. They're going to haunt somebody else, right? As long as once you put it out there, it's going to haunt the next person. That might be your resource or your breakthrough, but you got to say it first. You got to share it first. So I love your platform.
Thank you so much. I'm here. Yes, you are. So I know. What's 3 things you would give, 3 pieces of whatever advice, inspiration, words, whatever, wisdom that you would give to homeschooling families?
Trust yourself. Do it scared. Do it your way. I'm gonna add one more.
I was about to say, you can keep going if you need to.
Out of it.
Yes. Stand on it.
Yeah, do it your way. Don't let anybody talk you out of it, because there's no wrong way to do it. And enjoy it, right? It's not a chore. It's not something you have to do. It's something that you get to do. And it's something, like you said, and I love your perspective, it's something we've been doing. You're not new to this. You know what I'm saying? Your ancestors been doing this. You got teaching in you. And all you need to do is love your children, and the rest is just gonna follow. You can't.
Love is where it starts, honey, and that's why it makes you most qualified, because you ain't nobody loving them like you. Yes, and we're putting in the work, and I love it for this generation, the generations to come, because things are changing, and I love it. I love the conscious parent, the intentional parents, the resilient parents, everyone who is present for this. Like, nah, we about to change the game up. Like, this is what's been going on ain't been working. So this is our time, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it in all ways. So I love and appreciate you. I love and appreciate you and your crew, your Resilient Brown Mommas. Where can they find you? I know the podcasts on Spotify.
On Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. We also have Resilient Brown Mommas Facebook group for people who are on Facebook, so you can interact in our community. And we're also on Instagram, Resilient Brown Mommas. So if you follow Mindful Meek, that's me, Mindful Meek, MEEK, you'll see the link to it there as well. But definitely tap in.
Thank you so much for this. This was quick. Like, this, I ain't gonna front. Like, this hour went by real quick for me. And I was like, I'm stop, but thank you. Like,
have me back.
Of course. Yes. And the expo next year, because we're coming back to Baltimore too. So
I was in hot Arizona while y'all were there, so I'm not doing that this year. So I missed it. No, I'm gonna be.
Yes, that's why I'm telling you now. Like, as soon as I have the date for you, I'll let you know. But I definitely want you as a speaker.
I will be there.
Thank you. Yes, families, please remember that you got this. You got this. It all starts with you believing in yourself and just standing on your why. Understand why you are trying to do different and why it will work for your family, and do it. Just step out. I promise you. And there's networks everywhere to help, encourage, inspire, and just motivate you to be. Like really, just be. So
Do it.
keep believing, and homeschool your kids.